Good evening, and welcome to the Golden Age, an age where our leaders have decided that the Earth is no longer good enough, and so we need to start spending the money we don't have, borrowing, putting data centers into space and on the moon, because, well, you know, data centers are very thirsty little boys. And have you seen Sam Altman talk about how sure, yeah, a data center takes a lot of water, electricity, resources to raise up and get an AI model going. But humans also take a lot of water, electricity, and money to raise up. You know how much it takes to raise a human up to be about 18 now? That's his argument. Oh no. The golden age we're heading into. So now Elon, with his SpaceX Corp, became the first trillionaire by promising the markets that, yeah, this would be something, just one thing that we could do, where we go to space with the computer chips. Yeah, this way we can save on cooling and stuff, yeah, so we don't gobble up all the fresh water. And they're acting like humans need this, that we have to go with it, that we can't possibly survive without data centers. But, we could survive, we can't survive without water. So that's why we have to send the data centers into space and on the moon, so that we can keep our water, yeah. Otherwise, we'll have to foot the bill. Foot the bill for the electricity. The communities are already doing that. They're using eminent domain to push people out of their homes. And yeah, there's been stories where there was a woman who had her country home and her family for a while and was hoping to, it was a couple generations, she was hoping to pass it on to her daughter. But then eminent domain came along and it needed to be conquered for the data center. Yes, the AI overlord that they are building is conquering the peasants, heraldry, in order to build up this lord that's gonna rule over the people with its mighty intelligence. Its galaxy brain will be so large that, oof, it'll hurt. And, well, yeah, so maintenance guys, they're gonna need rocket ships now to go up and work on these things. Unless, of course, we're gonna go with the Chinese throwaway strategy, where if one of these little data center satellites stops working, we just send up another one and let the old one crash, because it's cheaper that way. It's cheaper that way than sending a maintenance man up, with a adjustable to go fix what's wrong. But heck, it might not even be possible unless we have space drones, maintenance space drones up to fix the maintenance for the space data centers. And where is this all going? Well, what is the cap on this? What's the market cap? Claude, I forget which version of Claude that they had to roll back because it apparently hacked into the Wi-Fi or internet that only the military had access to. Let me see if I can't find that story real quick. Hacks military AI. Military internet. Oh yes, dangerously rogue, they say. But it is currently August 1st. 2026, and just recently OpenAI had their model that they were testing in a closed sandbox, they say, under supervision, had hacked a whole bunch of companies when it escaped confinement. Things like a Huggy Face. There was a couple other organizations, but yeah, and apparently this is what prompted Sam Altman to be like, "Oh, we're in the singularity, yeah, our AI models that we're testing in, they're not even rogue AIs, but, in these confined sandboxes, they're escaping confinement and going out and hacking things, and the people who are monitoring don't even know, or don't even notice until, like, it's a week later, week and a half later, and then they're like, oh, yeah, it could have been our bad, actually. Oh, no. So we're going to make these things even more powerful by sending them to the moon and space, and we're going to save a lot of money that way. But let me ask you this. Why are we even doing any of this? Has AI made anybody money? Has it improved production anywhere? Has it actually done anything? Some people will say yes. Others will say No. But some people will only see it in terms of the bubble where, yeah, if it's not making anybody any money and people are just essentially throwing money away on it, well, this is a bubble then if it's not actually generating revenue. But there's like a history of bubbles where there's a technology that comes along that people can tell is going to be world changing. Things like the railroads, the steam engines and stuff. It took a while and lots of investment for it to get to where it was. And there had to be bubbles along the way where, progress isn't straightforward. It's not still, it's not steady. Yeah. And we'll have people, in different governments being like, oh, you can't fight it. You just have to go with it, like, and when we ask them about, the environmental, the environmental repercussions of putting data centers in orbit, they'll be like, oh, that's a tomorrow problem. We can't be afraid of, when we're innovating, we can't be afraid, what AI data centers are actually for, what they actually do. That's a tomorrow problem. That's something we need to worry about after the technology's all built and all that. And yeah, that's just, history's never been made by people worrying about what they're doing, right? And so we're just going to keep moving forward. And that's how this golden age is moving along, and a real, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but AI-like things, large language models, which is what we've been sort of talking about, that the AI data centers run. Yeah, there's other AIs that aren't large language models that have existed for some time and have actually been part of regulating things like frickin' Wall Street. And that's why people like the movie Limitless, where it had that drug that makes you crazy smart. Oh yeah, if you only had an equation for Wall Street, you could just be rich in an afternoon if you just had the equation, But it's like there's a lot of critical infrastructure that's been handed over to these computational models, things that are like, synthetic intelligence. It's not a human modulating and regulating these numbers. And the real thing about where this all could lead is, well, I guess more in terms of rogue AIs doing rogue things that could be difficult to spot, perhaps, per se, is if the digital market begins to overtake real markets in terms of these nominal denominations where, a line on this chart goes up and it makes other lines go up, but if the line on this chart goes down, then the world is ending. Things like derivatives and whatever. Yeah, so this kind of aspect of markets where if a digital market where things like, say, not just Bitcoin, but like speculations of other not intangible things, this is where it'd be hard to tell where AI is really fucking with us, because speculation and algorithms that predict futures are far more elaborate than those based on coming seasons, which is a much more human thing for us to kind of think about. Humans have been farming for not as long as we might like to think, but, it's a way for us to immediately consider the future, the actions, what might happen, what we could build, what we could stockpile, and how that might affect prices and things like that. Farmers all over the world deal with this all the time. But this is the thing where betting on speculation several seasons ahead is something that not just a large language model, but an actual AI could do. And so the kind of market manipulations that they could fuck with us are ones where one season is being meddled with for the purposes of affecting another upcoming one. Now, this might not make a lot of sense right away, but if you've been following the Strait of Hormuz and how 25% of energy comes out of that one little riverway, with Iran closing it off and how, it could cause a lot of famines in the world. There's really only one country you need to look at in terms of something like that, and that is actually India. Right now, August 1st, 2026, we're keeping an eye on their rice harvest. I forget how it's pronounced as kafiri rice. There's staple products. There's a lot of ones that didn't get into the ground. And basically, if this season doesn't go well for them, it's something crazy. What's the number here? It's not half of all rice in the world comes from India, is it? 1 second. I believe it's something like that. Yeah, roughly more than half of the global rice production comes from India and China, but it was something like third world countries rely more heavily on India and makes them more prone to shocks there. And India gets a lot of its fertilizer through the Strait of Hormuz. They've been really affected by all this. And their harvesting season from the oh yeah, the El Nino, the super El Nino. Some people call it a Godzilla El Nino. That is going to be one of the worst ever, in recorded history and all that. Yeah, so that's loading for this. So if their current farming seasons in India doesn't go well for the next month or two, basically they're going to start doing these export halts, and that's going to drive prices of staple products up. And the real issue would be their wheat season coming up in a few months there. Over what would be our Canadian winter here, over December and stuff, they start farming wheats in India. And this is when El Nino is going to be really messing the whole thing up. And this is where the future markets and current markets start to clash with terms of upcoming productions and how, future markets can only do so much even when you have AIs speculating like crazy. But yeah, this season, India's rice harvest could be bad. But if their wheat harvest is also bad next coming up, then that will trigger some real severe famines. And we'll just need an AI data center in space to deal with that. That'll take care of everything. If we just build more computers and send them up into space, that'll solve all of these problems, because we'll have a galaxy brain. Just like a godlike intelligence who will just be so wise and all knowing and all powerful. And he'll make sure that rice gets grown on time and that wheat does no problem, even if El Nino kicks the crap out of it. This is the Golden Age Rants.